I'm gonna hit. Good call.
Yeah, thank you.
Good call, Lane. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have, because I'm not hosting the meeting, I don't have the record control
Okay.
there. Thank you. Okay, we have with us Grant Healet from EcoSlow, and Grant's going to give us an update and have a little more discussion about the EcoSlow tree planting program. Grant, thanks for coming. Always good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for having me back.
Thank you.
Last we spoke, it was February, I believe, and I had a little back and forth with you, Charles, and Elaine, I think, as well. So yeah, since we last spoke, just to give you guys kind of some updates on where EcoSlow's at and what we're up to. We've kind of closed out on our planting season. These days in California, that's November to April if you're lucky. Depends on where you are in the county, though. Slow City, you're basically digging through cement come March. So yeah, we've kind of begun to close out and shift gears into more of a planning season is where we're at right now. So last we spoke, we were kind of doing both of that, but now we're really up on the planning. So since then, yeah, we've planted 39 trees throughout Slow County. In particular, we've begun to expand beyond Slow City. So I believe when we last spoke, we had already conducted our first planting in Los Osos, which is our EcoSlow's first planting outside of the city of Slow. And since then, we've done a couple more in Los Osos. And in particular, we did a planting at, I believe it was New Tech High School in Napomo. So we've even done some plantings in South County now. So yeah, and we're currently shifting gears into that planting season. We've got some targets, some places, particularly in open space in Slow City, also establishing contacts with Slow County and are looking at how we can do that there. And in particular, very excited to possibly see how we can move forward here in Oceano as well. And then the other major update, I believe last we spoke, we were talking about how we were going to be updating our tree list, and we sent the previous one, I believe, to you, Aline. Ali sent it, but to give you all some updates, our tree list has been refined. The previous tree list was a little unorthodox, had some species that were a little tricky to get, or in particular, harder to come by. So current species, we have a lot of oaks: coast live oak, valley oak, cork oak, and island oak, Monterey cypress, black locust, and then camphor. So those are the species we're planting now, all readily available. All trees that work quite well in an urban environment, and all trees that we found are pretty popular with folks and pretty desirable. So that gives you kind of an update on where we're at. Like I said, we're kind of shifting gears into that planning. And yeah, excited to kind of take the next steps with you all here tonight, and kind of talk a little more about details and expectations and things like that. I spoke briefly with Charles on the phone on Tuesday. I know, Charles, you mentioned that there were some developments going on, I believe, or some projects going on that we might be able to tag into. Would love to talk about that, but also just kind of want to talk about, in particular, how we can move forward together in terms of understanding outreach and things like that, and who kind of would handle what, and just setting some expectations. We found it's really important to make sure everyone's on the same page. So to give folks an idea of normally how our when we do a planting with folks, how it works. I know Oceano Advisory Council, you guys are in a bit of a different situation, given you guys are a CSD, than something like City of Grover Beach or San Luis City or something like that. But generally, when we partner with, in particular, a more municipality group, EcoSlow takes care of a lot of the planting, and in particular, that first 3 years of maintenance. And then we look to shift gears, in particular for trees that don't have homes, that don't have homeowners adopting them, into kind of having city maintenance normally. Given that I know, again, Oceano, you guys are county, that's a little different. County's resources are very limited, and I know things work differently. So we'd probably want more target homeowners and just make sure and lean on those volunteers a lot. But yeah, like I said, we'd love to talk more about those developments. And if you guys have any questions in particular, would love to answer those. So yeah.
So I have a question.
Absolutely.
To refresh my memory, the
Yeah, of course.
trees are totally free. Everything's totally free.
Yep.
Like if a homeowner wants a tree, right? There's no fee whatsoever at all.
Yeah.
And
So there are a couple conditions, mainly that we can't plant in backyards. That's the big one. Got to be front yards. Got to be viewable from public right away. Cal Fire in particular wants to make sure they can see all the trees in case they ever want to come by and take a look. It's their money. They want to make sure that they can see them. That's the big one, is just no backyards. And they need to be accessible from a public right away. So as long as that's the case, yeah, we've definitely done plenty of plantings with homeowners. Usually it's in front yards or in, we call them tree wells. It's that spot of soil usually between the sidewalk and the road. So we'll plant there a lot. That's a really popular spot, particularly in slow city, for trees to be planted. But yeah, the only cost really to the homeowner at any point is, should they adopt the tree, water. That would be the main one. Would just be watering. We usually like to have, if we can, and we work with homeowners, have them adopt the tree. We find a lot more success with that, because if it's a volunteer, there might be miscommunication or something. Trees can get overwatered, underwatered, things like that can happen. And just in general, while trees, we do take care of them up for the first 3 years. Sometimes it needs to be a little longer, depending on the tree, depending on the conditions, depending on the soil. There's a lot that kind of variables that can come into play. So yeah, generally water is the main one. And then also depending, maybe some time watering a tree. But in terms of fees, that's pretty much it. There's no cost. No homeowners have to pay for anything. Even if the tree, let's say we've had trees, for example, that don't make it. Sometimes it can be as simple as the root structure isn't great and they have shock, or even in some really unfortunate cases, vandalism. We replace the tree. We replace it free of charge. So.
And so you'll go out there and you plant them, and you know where to plant them, so they're not going to hit a gas line or.
Yes, we make sure to. We always call 811. Always want to make sure to not hit any sort of utility lines. Always try and communicate, in particular with homeowners, when there might be other things on private property. We never want, and we're always very careful when we dig, even with volunteers. We always have a very much a rule of, if you are under any circumstances, have any questions about anything, or might be hitting something, just stop digging, call us over. We run through a whole safety thing when we do digging. We have so far not broken any utility lines, so want to keep that stretch going and don't plan to start. So
I want to follow up, Lean, on something that you brought up, and the grant in Oceano. There are a number of alleys. I mean, because it's old school.
Sure.
So trees planted in backyards could be viewed from an alley. And if that would be acceptable, you said Cal Fire this is their thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had this situation, but if that would be acceptable to Cal Fire, I think it could open up some possibilities. Having a big oak in your backyard with some shade, and of course, that's for your grandkids.
Sure.
Right. So that's one thing. We also have in Oceano, I know especially around Oceano Elementary School, there are planters where the trees that were there are long gone. Some of them may have irrigation to them, but it's not visible on the surface currently. So I don't know about that. But would those be candidates for replanting?
So that's a great question. So there definitely is a lot of, we're always happy to come out and look at a site if it's kind of borderline or questionable. We really do pride ourselves in making sure to be very thorough in how we work with homeowners and how we talk with folks. We never want anyone to have a tree they're unhappy with, or a location doesn't work, or anything like that. So when it comes down to some like the backyards, we're happy to talk to. We do have a supervisor at Cal Fire who's very quick to get back to us. Usually not when it's fire season, perhaps, but usually otherwise he's very quick to get back to us and happy to answer any questions. So we're definitely, and we have had unorthodox situations. A great example of this is in Los Osos, where we weren't sure if it was going to work out or not. Talked to him. He had it work. So those backyard, back alley situations definitely would need to take a look at into probably case by case basis. And if they are accessible, main thing is, like I said, yeah, it needs to be visible. So if it's blocked by a fence or something, maybe not, but if it's open and people can access it and everything like that, and Cal Fire can see it, very well may be the case. Would just need to get sign off on that.
Right.
As for the planters, I would probably need to see. Are you talking about are they like above ground planters, or are they?
No, they're I don't know, use the term,
Like the tree well kind of deal.
tree well. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Tree
can
well.
definitely plant those. We
They're
love
empty
planting
tree
those.
wells at like on Paso Robles between 18th and 19th Street. There's a
Okay.
whole slew of them.
Okay.
And what kind of quantity of trees do you have available? And I'm also looking at Ronnie when I'm asking you this, because I don't know if state parks would like to get in on this gig at all. But these are big. Aren't these 15-gallon trees?
Yes. Yeah. All trees are 15 gallon. That is a requirement in the grant. In terms of kind of quantity, we have planted so far, I believe we are at 49 out of 240. So there are in theory 191 odd trees left to be planted.
Okay.
So 50% plus one of those have to be in low income communities, as designated by California Climate Investments. They have what's called the Cal Enviro score. That's how we use it. So we would need to kind of make sure that we're hitting those numbers, but otherwise, there's a ton of trees left.
Okay.
In terms of quantities, we certainly have some. The lowest quantity of like a tree we have at this moment is like 20 of the camphor ones. So point being, there's plenty of trees, lots of trees available. And as for, state parks and stuff, we're happy to take a look at any situation as long as it falls within our eligible urban environment and as long as it works for Greg at Cal Fire. So got a hand up.
Okay, thank you. Lucia?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Forgive me if there is noise. I'm in a train. I'm on a train or in a train. Now, trees. I remember that a while ago we discussed the permit for a cell tower on top of a hill on the Halcyon property, and we talked about asking them. They said that they will put plants and trees around the base of the tower to camouflage and hide the construction. And we also asked that they probably, as a mitigation, plant farther down that hill, which is basically nude and unvegetated. So I wonder if there is a way to connect ACO's law with the cell tower builders to see if they can come together and use some of the trees to put on that land around that tower, if that's possible.
He's writing on for people. Talking.
As far as kind of the cell tower situation goes, I'd say we need to take a look at where it is within kind of the boundaries of the grant. If it falls within there, it's definitely a conversation we can have. Like I said, we're happy to plant pretty much anywhere we can within those boundaries. I just know the only thing around mitigation stuff would be they'd probably need to fund some of that mitigation, I think, under CEQA. So I don't know if these trees could qualify for that, but as additional trees, we could definitely probably make something work, especially if it falls within that. Just be a matter of taking a look at the site.
Mm-hmm. And okay, and then something to think about. I don't know. Did you ask the town of Halcyon? I know that they have taken down many eucalyptus trees because of the recent storm. The recent storms in the past year have taken down as many as 60 all the eucalyptus trees that there were. So they have been reforesting to some extent to the community with oak trees.
Folks, coming to a brief stop.
So I wonder if you have talked to if you could talk to the community of Halcyon.
Yeah, we definitely could. We're open to talking to pretty much anyone as long as I think some of Halcyon falls within that urban area. I would need to take a look at exactly where it is on our map. But yeah, like I said, we're happy to talk with anyone. And that's kind of one of the things actually I want to talk a little bit about tonight is kind of how we could all work together in terms of outreach and things like that. I know, Charles, you asked at one point for some outreach materials, and we're happy to provide those. I think it's more a question of kind of are you guys interested in kind of coming to us with projects that are needing trees, or are you looking for us to do more of the outreach directly, or a little bit of both? Happy to do any of it. Just kind of want to get some ideas on that. Yeah.
Well, let me, from my perspective, Grant, we're in a real good position to be the kind of the connector.
Great.
You're a dot, developers are dots, or whatever the development is. And in the case of a private development, for example, over on Bell Ridge, there's what is it? It's a 20 or 30 unit, 3 and 4 bedroom apartment complex going in. They have, they're putting in trees, and they could very likely be a client of yours if they, if you meet and decide that you want to continue the relationship. So we could provide, for example, to that developer, here's an opportunity to get some quality trees for your project that if they're meet the criteria, and we can give you the contact to, contact Grant at EcoSlow, tell them OAC sent you. Could say the same thing about this big runoff water flood control project going in next to Oceano Elementary School that's going to use bioswales. And I'll send you a copy of that design and the landscaping plans. And
Great.
so that may be something that, you could take some initiative to contact, or I or somebody else on the council would be happy to be a go-between. So that's one way that those connections could work, because we get pretty much every new development proposal for Oceano comes through us. So it would be an opportunity for us to do just basically doing outreach on behalf of your program to these new projects. I think more in terms of just our website presence, where we can promote free tree for your yard, 15-gallon free tree for your yard, of these different species, and hyperlink to you in your home phone number, and and you can get called at all hours on it.
Excellent. Yeah.
So and then anything that if you have other ideas, we're happy to work with you on it.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
It's kind of the graphic thing about hey, for if you guys want to personalize it, Oceanans, the pitch, and we can put that on our website, and we already have it on our homepage as a header, and a link to a page that's basically not populated yet.
Okay. Yeah, that all sounds great. We've definitely got some materials. Like I said, I can put together a poster and some flyers and stuff like that. We also do have, I think this would work great as kind of a link on your guys' website. Way it works for when we do trees is we have a form, a Google form that
Perfect.
people click and they fill it out, and then it populates to us and we get all the info we need to know. So we can definitely include links to that and things like that. So yeah, that all sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds great. And then I I'm curious about in terms of moving forward, is there a specific member of the OAC who wants to be more of a direct contact for us at EcoSlow, or should we kind of work generally, come to these meetings, just getting an idea for who would be best to do that?
I think at this point would probably be the point of contact for you.
You'll be okay. That sounds great.
Unless somebody else, I'm not trying to hog the work here. April?
I'm willing.
Okay.
I work from home, so I'm around a lot.
Great.
So then the vice chair, April Dury, will be your contact.
Sounds great.
And that's at Charles's phone number. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
Steve, need my number?
they'll have all the eco slow contacts, so you'll be able to feel the questions, and you're the appropriate ones to do that for sure.
Okay.
Anything else, Grant?
No, this all sounds great. Looking forward to moving forward and got some great ideas here. So yeah, any other questions for me?
Plant some trees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank
Thank you,
you so
Grant.
much.
Have a
We'll
great
be
rest of your
in
evening.
touch.
Will do.
All right.
Bye, Grant.
Bye-bye. Okay. Next up, under new business, we've got this, the state park project, the corporate yard improvement project, and their minor use permit. And we have the senior biologist for state parks in the Oceano district, Ronnie Glick. Ronnie, welcome. Nice to have you at the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm going to go ahead and try and share screen. I don't know if you have permissions set up, so I can.
Aline can make you a co-host.
So
There you go.
just tried it. Are we able to see it? Everybody?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't do anything. It just showed up.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, so you had me set up as a co-host. So again, this is our corporation yard. And so I don't know if you can see my mouse. This is Highway 1. This is the main entrance into our corporation yard. That we have our ranger station and then a number of facilities in here. We have our maintenance area, we have our auto shop, we have some vehicle storage buildings, and we have a number of park employee residences. And so the area in red is approximately 5.5 acres. And the expansion area that we're looking at is about 1/2 acre, and that is the area in blue. This is an image that I just had staff put together this morning, so this probably is not in your referral package. The project includes a couple of important elements. So number one, we are going to be adding some additional employee and state park vehicle parking in this blue area. Actually, I remembered one thing I wanted to do, and I don't know if it's going to work. This is that same area as seen in an aerial in 1958. And it's the same outline. So you can see that this is an area that when these houses were put in, obviously before 1958, I think this was an area that was in light agriculture. It looks like they plowed or mowed the areas. So just wanted to show you all that. And of course, now that I've done that, I'm going to have to try and get back to the other screen. Okay. So the project has a couple of elements. One of them is, again, to increase the available parking. The other is right now we have 4 residents. We have the 2 permanent residents. Those were the buildings that were there in that 1958 photo. So they are located here and here. And then we have right now 2 mobile home pads where we have our staff live there. Part of the proposal would be upgrading the utilities to those 2 existing mobile home pads and then adding in utilities for 2 additional mobile homes so that we would have 6 total employee residences on this site versus the current 4. And again, those employees are responding to calls for emergency, both in the SVRA and in Pismo State Beach. And so this is where we serve both of those parks. So that includes the North Beach Campground in the city of Pismo. That includes the Grand Avenue ramp and the golf course and all of those areas. That includes our Oceano Campground, both the tent and the RV section. And then also that includes the SVRA. So all of those operations, whether it's lifeguards, law enforcement, maintenance staff, heavy equipment, my own staff doing the biological monitoring, we all report to work here and then go out into the parks to do our work. So this is where all of our equipment, materials, etc. reside. So let's see, I have a couple of other images and I hope I'm going to be able to pull them up without too much disruption. This is an image that would be in your packet. And this is a close-up. It shows you the existing utilities, gas, electrical, sewer, water. We have a couple of areas that we've added in for landscaping to to have swales so that we can have vegetation that could filter out any fines that would come off this parking area. Along the eastern boundary between Highway 1 and our property, we have a screen that would block block the view of this area. And so I will say we did a similar project in this lot right here in the south where I'm showing with my mouse. And I believe this one has some photos. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around to different screens.
We're not seeing we're just still on the same, your newest one that you had made this morning, Ronnie.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to, well, I'm gonna stop share and then I'm gonna have to start sharing again. Thank you for letting me know, and I apologize about that. So let's see.
Yeah, this shows your utilities and stuff. That's
Okay.
the one up now.
Yeah. So I was going to share, and so again, utilities for the new trailer pads and existing trailer pads. And then I was going to show you, we have an existing parking lot that we installed. Can you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have a parking lot that we installed, and I want to say this was maybe around 2012, 13. It's been there for a while. And then we added in landscaping and to visually screen that. And so I think what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to stop sharing again and then pull up the photo that I wanted to show you. So I'm sorry if it's a little choppy.
Okay.
I thought I could jump around, but I can't. All right.
Fortunately, we're all really tech giants here.
Okay.
So.
And so this is a picture of what the materials that we would use. Again, it would be a chain link fence with this green vinyl that's been in the chain link. And then you can see this is a wax myrtle plant that we installed. And then we have others. I think we've used elderberry, we've used Fremontodendron, and other plants to provide visual screening. And then this is kind of what it looks like on the ground. You can see our landscape screening and then the fence. And so this is an older project. It's probably, I don't have the exact date, but it's probably on the order of about 10 years old. So that's kind of the broad overview of the project. I guess any questions, or maybe I'll throw it back to you and see if you have any questions, any clarifications after your review of the materials.
If Ronnie, could you let me see, could you stop sharing, and then so we can okay, I see April, go ahead.
Hi, Ronnie. I have two questions. The first question is, you called it a landscape screening on one of the photos. When the project's finished alongside Highway 1, where you're talking about taking out that wonderful landscaping that blocks us to have to look at the commercial work going on over there, will there be replacement for that landscaping so that we can again not have to seal that?
Yes, it obviously will take some years to grow to be the full size, but so it'll be the chain link fence with the green slats and then landscaping. And in your project materials we have a list of plants that we're looking at. It'll be similar to the ones that I showed you. So the wax myrtle, which grows pretty quickly and pretty densely, and then Fremontia because it's a beautiful native plant. And I love it.
Okay. That was my first question. My second question was in the packet that you sent us. I just want to see if maybe I misunderstood. The border of what I thought was the project looked to go all the way to Pier Avenue, but is that really just showing the border of the property itself, not the work where the work's going to take place?
Well, so I'm not. I think I know which image you're referring to. So it is. This is a
It's like
small
the very
part of a large
first-
parcel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the parcel itself is over 100 acres, and
Okay.
that parcel goes to Pier Avenue.
To Pier Avenue, but this project isn't about Pier Avenue. Okay.
No, not at
I
all.
misunderstood. I was like, now what are you guys doing to Pier Avenue? You have plenty of parking there, but I get it now. That makes great sense. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
Bonnie?
Yeah, I just have a couple, am I heard? Oh, yeah, okay. This is not ESHA, correct?
No, it is not ESHA, and that is the reason that we're doing this project in this location, because surrounding this project we have the Oceana Lagoon, we have a large riparian area associated with the lagoon, and so this is the area adjacent to that corporation yard that is not ESHA, and that's why we're going to the east. We couldn't go west, north, south.
My second question is, what kind of needs assessment have you done on this?
It's mostly looking at our current operation. The biggest summer weekends for us, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. That's when we have the most staff on. That's when we would have volunteers. That's when we have full complement of lifeguards and visitor service park aides, people working in the station. So that's when we are bursting at the seams, and so that's why we've how we've determined that we need more space, and that's how we've identified this area for expansion.
I guess my question is, the park is to transition in January 1st, 2024. Is this a needs assessment for January 1st, 2024, or is this a needs assessment for today?
Well, so this is a needs assessment for today and for the future. Again, this is not just a corporation yard that serves the SVRA. It serves Pismo State Beach as well, and we're still operating a beach in whatever form after 2024. So it is the needs for today and the future.
I haven't seen a transition plan. So if there's no transition plan, how do you do a needs assessment plan if you have no transition plan?
Well, so as you may be aware, there are many lawsuits that are winding their way through the court. And okay, this is the first time that April's heard, but I think everybody else knows.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so at this point, it would be premature to go that route. Obviously, we know what the Coastal Commission conditions say, but we also know that the parties are in active discussions and also through the courts. So at this point, we are proposing this as a long-term plan for the continued operation of the SVRA and for Pismo State Beach.
So you are basing your needs on the past and current, not basing any needs on any future changes.
I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future holds. We are looking at our operations as it exists now and saying, how do we sustain and support that?
The residents on site, what do they do?
So the residents on site are they're typically law enforcement. So after hours calls, we are a 24-hour operation with campgrounds, and but we are not always staffed 24 hours a day. So they're available for on calls, emergencies, disturbances, etc. And then we also have our maintenance staff. And so that's if any of the bathrooms or the major utilities, sewer, water, gas have problems, they're available to respond to call outs and emergencies.
I live in Oceano. I drive past there all the time. I drove past there this morning, and because there's no trespassing or whatever, no going on site, but I can easily count any time of day, any day of the week. It doesn't matter when. There are literally at the minimum 40 vehicles sitting there. Do you honestly believe that that's a good use of prime coastal land?
Obviously, my department does, because we have invested the time and effort to develop this project and put it forward through a coastal development permit application.
And what has led you to believe that you need to continue and expand? To me, I have to say, it looks like, it looks like a garage, I'm just going to store my shit here, and, I'm going to keep storing it here till I can. And I have to say, I looked up, and it looks like the state parks owns land, as far as I can tell, up behind Denny's. So it's not that far away. So have they considered storing stuff you simply don't use on a daily basis or a weekly basis off-site, and making this land available to the public for cabins, for yurts, for tenting, for we know that the pandemic brought a lot. The increase in camping and RVing exploded, absolutely exploded. And the place to park those vehicles barely budged, has not budged. So the people of California, they want a place to camp. They don't want a place a parking lot on prime coastal land. This is prime coastal land. Have you thought about the people of California, or have you thought more about the employees and what they want?
Well, so the employees serve the people and provide those outdoor experiences for the public, and this is why we do it. That you have to have a place to store the materials that are used in the operation and maintenance of a park. You have to have a place for the employees who are working in that park to park their own vehicles so that they can, get to their place of work and have all the materials that they need to do their work, whether that's a lifeguard picking up their truck and their equipment and their radios, whether that's a maintenance guy going and getting materials to, work on a broken pipe somewhere. This is a vital part of what we do as the State Parks Department in providing for the infrastructure that supports the public recreating in these areas.
Anything
Can I have,
I'll hand it over.
please?
Okay,
Am
Aline,
I up?
next.
My
Aline
connection
Aline
was
is next.
gone. So
She can't see it the way we see it because she's on her phone. And Aline's muted, so.
Aline, you're muted.
And Lucia froze.
So, you want me to go?
Yes, Aline, please go.
My question is, okay, there's an expansion of the parking lot. From what I see from looking at the plans, it's expanding it like more than double. Am I correct?
I believe, I don't have the exact numbers, but it would appear that it's about twice the parking that's in the current smaller lot that was in that photo that I shared with you.
And so the expansion, does the expansion going just towards the road, or is it going to the side? Because you're going to get rid of all that beautiful landscape that's there. is that the expansion towards the highway? Not
Yes,
towards,
it is expanding towards the highway. So from to the east and between the highway.
okay. And my other question is, like you said, all those vehicles that were there, you need more parking. What, off the top of your head, what percentage of those vehicles are for the SVRA?
You know, it depends on the day. You know, we have a fleet of I think over 100 vehicles, and on any given day, they can spend part of their day working in the campgrounds, part of their day in the SVRA, part of their day on the beach. You know, doing patrol, and again, you know, not necessarily in the riding and camping area, but just on the beach, whether that's the lifeguards or law enforcement on patrol. So it really varies. I would be reluctant to hazard a number or hazard a guess right now.
Okay, so you're saying there's over 100 vehicles there, like,
Yeah, as part of our operational fleet. And that
you're-
includes heavy equipment, that includes
so you're
you know, light duty trucks, etc.
over 200 vehicles. You feel you need parking for over 200 vehicles if you're doing it twice as large.
Well, again, so right now the vehicles are kind of spread out throughout the corporation yard. They're tucked away in little places. I mean, literally, you know, in between two dumpsters. The recycle dumpster and the trash dumpster has a truck that's parked between it during the day because we are out of space. And so the idea is providing parking and for the employees for the vehicles that they use throughout the day, but also using the space within the corporation yard more effectively.
Okay, and I have another question. How much exactly? I didn't see a price, set a ticket price there, like exactly, how much is this gonna cost?
I don't have the exact numbers, but it's on the order of, you know, it's probably in, you know, $50,000 to $75,000. It's a relatively small price project.
For just the parking lot, or for just the parking lot, right?
Well, for the parking lot, you know, because we would do the work in-house, having our own heavy equipment, and you know, dump trucks and et cetera. We would do a lot of that work in-house and realize some economies of scale that way.
Okay. And again, you are just like, I understood, you're basing it on the needs of the SVRA currently, even though it is projected to be phased out soon. Before you know, it'll be. Okay.
However, you know, what I would say is, you know, even part of the discussion that the Coastal Commission had back in March 2021, they were envisioning a continuation of camping, but on the beach north of Pier. And so that would also require a certain amount of equipment and materials to maintain that. Now, having said that, you know, none of these things are decided and set in stone. As I mentioned, there are a lot of negotiations and legal actions happening. But you know, we are anticipating that this park is going to remain here long term, and public access will remain. And there will always be the need to have those service areas where equipment, materials, personnel report and have the, you know, have the space available to do this work.
Did I hear you correctly where you're saying that you are anticipating it for it to remain as it is?
Well, it is still, the SVRA is a state park and it will remain a state park. And, you know, even the Coastal Commission was envisioning ongoing uses that involve camping and public access on the beach. And so we are planning for a future that has some form of public access on this property. And we don't know what that may look like, but it will require a certain amount of support area for people to do the work needed to operate those places.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna take a turn here.
Yes. Please do.
with a couple. Personally, I mean, I think this is an okay project. It's expanding current uses on the space. But I think the questions of scale are relevant. And Ronnie, a question is, since, it's in litigation, why not just wait a couple of years on this project till the litigation is, determined, the outcome is determined, rather than jumping into it right now? Although I was surprised when you said, I mean, it's going to be under $100,000. That covers the cost of the new double wide trailers you're bringing in and all the new utilities and
So
all that.
at this point, the trailers and the way that Parks works that is we provide the connection and it's up to the employee to bring in their own personal trailer. That's our current business model, if for lack of a better word. And so no, that doesn't include the cost of the trailer because it really includes the utilities. So somebody can bring a trailer onto the site and have a residence. Now, that's not to say that in the future we would not seek to buy trailers and have them be our own that we lease out or rent out to our employees, but that is not the current practice. So
I thought doesn't it call for new double wide mobile homes?
So what we are proposing is to upgrade the existing utilities and provide 2 additional connections. So sewer, gas, electric, water to 2 additional sites.
And
basically,
no housing provided?
And then what the practice is when we hire an employee and they are eligible for housing, it's up to them to bring their own mobile home onto the site.
Okay, I would have to look at I mean, I was sure it said that there would be 2 new, previously you got a permit to expand single wide to 2 double wides, and those are there. And I thought you're bringing 2 more double wides in. I didn't see anything in there about employees bringing in their own 5th wheelers. This isn't an RV park.
No. The employees would bring in a manufactured home. We are providing the space and utilities for them to bring in their own manufactured home.
And then when they lost their job, they would take their mobile home with them, or the manufactured home, or the state would buy it, or what?
Right now, what happens is since it's their property, they could sell it. They could either sell it to the next person who's moving in, or they could sell it to a private party if they want to put it out on a ranch. It's that has been the practice. I didn't come up with it. I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah, okay. Well, so how about my question of like just putting this on hold until the lawsuits are settled?
At this point, the direction that my department chose to take is to spend the time to pull together the project and seek a coastal development permit. The feeling was that this was the appropriate time to do this. There are some who felt it should have happened a long time ago, because on those, not even the busiest of summer holidays, on a summer weekend, we are bursting at the seams with personal vehicles parked in places where they're blocking out other access. There is a lot of activity that goes on in this yard.
Okay.
And
on the are you taking into account Caltrans, State Highway 1, their property line in your west side landscaping? Because at some point there may be a sidewalk connecting Pismo down to Pier Avenue.
We are up to their right of way, which, and I believe it's either 50 or 75 feet from the center line, but it may be bigger. But basically, we have surveyed the area, and the fence and the landscaping goes entirely on our property. And improve, there is room within the right of way for those improvements.
Okay,
They
and
were-
then one last one, is the property west of the yard, is that slated for campground expansion, that land in the master, in the PWP?
No, that is not. We took our shot on a couple of different parcels for campground expansion, and those didn't ultimately gain support. So at this point, we are not proposing to expand the camping within our Oceano campground. In our public works plan, we did have a proposal to rework the RV section of the Oceano campground. The utilities there are getting rather dated, and with newer rigs that come in, we're going to have to update, in particular, electricity. So that was one of the projects that we were looking at. The public works plan did include a much larger redesign of the corporation yard, including a new road from that corporation yard out to the beach. But again, the public works plan is at this point on hold.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have one more question. That says that all the new surfacing is going to be road base,
Yes,
not pavement.
not
But if I
paved.
look at the picture, it looks like it's all paved now.
If you want, I can share the photo again, because I didn't do that, but it is road based. I'll go ahead and share. I've got to find the right
The
one.
road base would be permeable, correct?
Yes, road base is permeable. So that's I don't know if you can see, we've got yeah, that's rock. It is not pavement.
Okay,
It is paved up to the gate. So
Uh-huh.
this is pavement on this side, but where the vehicles are parked, that is road base.
does the permeability of that, is it pretty functional? From
It
your
is
knowledge?
functional, obviously. It has to be designed well so that it's domed, so that the water will not pool. And if water pools, it can ultimately undermine it. With road base like this, and given the level of use, this thing has been resurfaced, maybe 2 times since we initially installed it.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let me move back into the queue here, and April, you're up, and Bonnie, you'll be up next after April.
Okay, I had a couple questions, and thank you, Bonnie, so much, because you asked questions that really made me think further of really important things. I'm trying to, Ronnie, understand the overlay of the mobile homes over the existing property, and I'm looking at like Google Maps in relation to what was submitted in the proposal. And just for clarification, the first spot that's designated on your project is currently not a spot that is being used for an existing mobile home. It looks like there's some vehicles parked there and some kind of building. Is that building maybe just a storage building of some sort?
Yeah, I believe, or it may be a pump house for.
Okay, because it doesn't look like a residence. So that would be the
Yeah.
one of the two. And then the next lot is an already existing mobile home. The next lot is an already existing mobile home on a large piece of property, quite honestly, both of those. And then the fourth slot would be the second new mobile home slot, correct?
Yes.
So they're
and so
bookending existing.
Actually, I think you're correct. There's they're the one to the south, and maybe I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again. I
Okay.
think it'll be easier than me trying to describe it.
Sure.
The overlay that you guys provided goes over, like it's like I can kind of see. The first one is an empty. So
So
no, I take it back.
This one would be a new one, and then the upper 3 would be basically making 2 existing lots into 3 lots. And so.
Okay, so you're gonna move the first 3 are gonna be changed some.
Yes, the first the northern 3 are going to be reconfigured, because as you
Gotcha.
pointed out, one of them had a very large lot.
Huge lot. Well, they both do, but one in particular. Okay, thank you. That answers that question. My question right now also is, you said there are 2 currently existing. those are owned by staff members currently?
Yes, actually, one of them is vacant. A staff member took a job up in Humboldt Redwoods, and he decided to go be back up at the Redwoods.
Okay.
And the other right now is a current employee who.
So then my question is he forced to sell then?
You know, at this point, we have done our best to accommodate that employee and find a space that they could move into during the time when this work would happen. So, yeah,
So if you're saying one is empty though, this is what I'm trying to understand. So an employee just leaves and moves somewhere else. What if they don't want to sell? What if this is now their vacation home?
That's not how it works. So, you know, these homes are reserved for people who are responding to emergencies within the park. They need to meet our operational need for emergency services in the park. So if somebody were to move on, you know, they're out.
But
You
they
know,
own that home.
they own the structure, but the utilities and the space. I guess it's similar to a mobile home park where you're renting a space. You're not renting a home.
Right. So if a mobile home resident were to move on, but not sell their mobile home, they would just still owe the land rent and pay the utilities if any were used, et cetera. I guess, I'm really confused to learn this. So I guess my next step is that I do a public records request to find lease agreements with these supposed employees. What is the exit plan with this? Because you're making 4 dedicated spots on state-owned property that you're telling us employees get to own the building. But then what happens when the employee doesn't want to sell the building? That's very interesting to me anyway. But that was learning this from you. On the staff, so the staff actually live on site. That's not just housing for being on call over a 3-day weekend. It's not temporary housing. That's kind of a B&B or
No,
vacation.
it is
Their own
full-time
stuff is in
permanent
there.
residence.
Their
Yes.
clothes are in there. Their pictures of their loved ones are on the walls. Okay, fascinating. You had mentioned that the work to be done, a lot of it would be done, you said in-house, meaning state parks employees, state parks product, et cetera, would be used. But in that expense, there is wear and tear on vehicles that are owned by the taxpayers. There's wear and tear on, you know, the staff themselves have to be paid. So when you say it only costs less than $100,000, what is that? Is that based on the material only? Is that based on outside work and not anything internal that the taxpayers would have to foot the bill on?
That is correct. That would be the material costs. And so in that scenario, the equipment and the staff time, you know, they could be spending their time doing project X, but they're doing this project. And so that does not factor in the costs for the equipment, material, or equipment or staff time that we're using in-house.
Okay, let me just make sure that was the last of my, I think that was it. So I look forward to the rest of Bonnie's questions because they're really good. Thank you so much.
Bonnie?
So would the employees be paying rent for the land?
Yes, they do. And that is determined based on market rate and I don't know exactly how that formula works.
Okay. And during COVID, one thing I think we realized quickly during COVID was that even though the park was shut down to vehicles, there were, you know, the state parks were going down the beach south constantly. There was no let up. It seems like, has there been any thoughts about basing, you know, a lot of the operations closer to where they're all going, which is probably Oso Flaco, not here? It seems like they're always traveling, you know, miles and miles every day just to get down to Oso Flaco. And I just, that's my thought.
Okay. Well, so I will remind you that one of the things we tried to do through our public works plan was to create a satellite workplace down at the agricultural land that we own down at Oso Flaco. And again, that was not supported ultimately. You know, at this point, this is the land that we have to you know, base our operations. And yeah, you know, it does require that we traverse the beach to get into different parts of the park to do our work. It's you know, we manage roughly 5,000 acres, but it's in a really long, narrow strip. And so that's how it works. You know, if you would support operations center down at Oso Flaco, I'm sure my superiors would be interested in knowing that. But I don't think that was supported broadly by the community when we put it out there last.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I please talk while I have the connection?
Yes. go
Charles,
ahead.
Yes.
please, thank you. And if my connection goes away, please know that I am against this project. And I'm sure Ron already knows. State parks want more trailers and more parking. In other words, it wants to expand, just like Bonnie said. I oppose such any expansion. State parks should be downsizing its footprint on Oceano precious coastal wetland. The Coastal Commission ruled that there will be no more driving on Oceano Beach and dunes by January 24. It means that state parks operation and equipment will be cut down significantly. So why expand? As it is already, the maintenance yard is too invasive, a waste of precious coastal land. While beach visitors need more parking and day use areas, state park increases its parking space and living quarters. This is not a surprise. In our case, State Park has always prioritized its own needs over the needs of the public it is supposed to serve and of Oceano, the community in which it operates. And the money? I oppose putting any more money into parking and living quarters for State Parks employees. I do care for them. But in this case, I think money could be spent on a dune walk. We need a dunes boardwalk between Grand and Pier, bike racks on Pier Avenue, a movable low impact ramp for wheelchairs access to the wet sand. We need benches, picnic tables. So I am confident to say that the OBCA, the Oceano Beach Community Association, does not vote for this project. And if I get disconnected, please put this on record. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Bonnie, your hand is still up.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that State Parks is of the belief that 100 plus vehicles will be needed to support 500 campers within walking distance of the utility yard.
Yeah.
Well, again,
Which is what the Coastal Commission has said they will do, is they're up to 500 up to 500 camping units between Grand and Pier. And you're going to need 100 plus vehicles to support that activity.
I will remind you, this also includes the operation of the Pismo State Beach campgrounds, and you know, so it requires a fleet of vehicles. You know, obviously, you know, we would have to reassess as things change. You know, the type of vehicles. You know, the ones that can work in the campground. You know, we can put little utility carts out there. We don't have to have big trucks, but, you know, obviously we would have to reassess. But I will remind you that this is the operation for 2 state park units and really a lot of camping. And that's, you know, what is needed. And I would also remind you that if the SVRA closes in 2004, as the Coastal Commission has conditioned, there will still be a need to restore and recover those lands, including removing the infrastructure that is currently in place, including a lot of fencing, a lot of vault restrooms, and you know, and my staff in particular will be involved in a lot of restoration, which you know, involves bringing materials, plants, etc., out into the park for the use and restoration. So I would suggest that there is going to be an ongoing need for equipment, staff, and materials to access the SVRA if it were to be closed to off-highway vehicle recreation and camping. So.
Well, so I think it's a great opportunity that we have a parks representative here. The transition plan, where does that stand right now?
I am not aware of a transition plan that I'm able to share.
Is there one happening? Or is there just not anything happening?
I can say that at this point, there are many very high level discussions about this and including legal discussions that I am not privy to and that we at the local level are not privy to. So at this point, there is nothing publicly that the department is putting out related to the SVRA and you know, what happens beyond 2024.
Okay, will you say the same thing about the habitat conservation plan?
Habitat conservation plan is on hold until such time as some of these other longstanding legal questions are answered.
And the biodiversity plan?
Biodiversity plan is still being faithfully implemented.
Okay, thank you.
Aline?
So I just wanted some clarification, again, on the parking, because that's the most important part. That's like what you're stressing. I don't have issues with the more housing, providing more housing for your employees, because that's an incentive to bring in quality employees to the state park. But I do have issues with expansion there, being that, you know, the SVRA is supposed to be phasing out. So right now there's like parking for 100, correct?
So I don't have firm numbers on how many.
More or less.
But yeah, we do our fleet of vehicles plus personal vehicles.
So, and then you said 100 more, so it'd be 200. Okay.
Well, but again, I think the other thing that's doing is it's taking those other vehicles, getting them out of the area where we have heavy equipment operating, you know, we don't want personal vehicles parked right where heavy equipment is operating, because guess what happens? Accidents. So.
Okay, but it's been operating this way for quite a while, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't mean it's been a workable or ideal situation, which is why we are investing the time.
But I'm sure you haven't been sued, or you would have done changes quite a while ago if it was that dangerous. Yeah. Okay. That's it from the questions.
Okay.
Lucia?
Yes, thank you. You know, I find it outrageous that the OAC division of state parks, and I'm not castigating state parks, I love state parks. It's the OHV division in this case that, excuse me, that finds the money, the power, and the time to expand its operation and to always cater to itself, and doesn't spend the money, time, and manpower to give us bike racks on period. So I find that doesn't have money and time to finish the habitat conservation plan. Doesn't spend the money and time and manpower to start transitioning seriously. So whatever Ronnie says, and you know, Ronnie, I had to you, don't believe it. I think Stark is no work for the public, no for Oceano, ever. So I'm adamant that I am opposed to granting this permit. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Aline, your hand is up.
Sorry,
Okay,
bring it down.
all right.
Thank you, Ronnie, for all that grilling. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. I'm sure it wasn't fun, but we need it. We need to talk honest about it.
And you know what I will tell you is we obviously we're a big player in the community of Oceano. We want to be a part of this community. I think there's some really incredible things that we've done along Pier Avenue. I think the new visitor center in Guyton Hall is a great example. If you haven't been on the west side trail along the Oceano Lagoon, we just opened that up. It's been a soft opening. We didn't do a big announcement, but a very nice accessible boardwalk. We're making some real improvements in that corridor. And obviously if there are things specifically that you're interested in, whether, Lucia has mentioned bike racks and other amenities, we want to be a part of the discussion. We want to be a part of the solution. We recognize that we're a big player in that corridor. And, we're willing to have the discussion and try and make these things happen.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of the things about the SVRA tend to sour the discussion with the community of Oceano, and in particular the folks who live in the beach area. But I will tell you, we're all members of the community. We all live and work here, and we want to be good members of this community, and we want to help to realize a better vision for this area. And so don't just hate us. Think about how we can be a partner to all of you and make this a better place. The shared vision that you have as well. So.
Ronnie, I can tell you one thing that would be really excellent is if for every one of those $5 day use admissions you get, you give $1, take $1 of that and give it to the OCSD. There is some truth to the fact that we get all of the impacts, but we don't really, as a community, get much, financial support from state parks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I hear you, and I've heard that idea before. I will have to leave it to the attorneys to go into all the details of that.
Yeah.
But I think the times that that's been mentioned, the attorneys are like, I don't think we can do that.
Right. Right.
I know that we have, certainly in the past done grants with the 5 Cities Fire. I think before they were 5 cities, but when they were just the Oceano Fire Department, so I know we have done some of that, but and I will also say there are in lieu fees that come to the county that are intended to help mitigate the impacts from off-highway vehicle recreation. And you're in a little bit of a gray area as far as you're a member of the Board of Supervisors right now. But, I think talking to the Board of Supervisors about having more of that money come to the community would be appropriate.
That is a great one. Thank you for that.
It's the OHV in lieu fees, and I don't know the dollar amount, but it's a couple $100,000 a year.
OHV in lieu fees.
Okay, thank you. April will be all over that.
Like white on rice.
Bonnie,
You never heard of brown rice?
Yes, I have. I prefer.
Okay.
Bonnie, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to have, I just got to follow up on that. I'm sorry, because I don't think you've been to the same Pier Avenue I have. Pier Avenue is like a dismal 9 empty lots, trash, depressing. I mean, Lucia came back from Italy and she wanted to cry and when she saw Pier Avenue. That's how bad it is. It's horrible. That avenue is horrible.
They sell
There's
plastic
no way to
and-
say that your little museum is going to make it better. That Pier Avenue cannot look worse than it does right now. It's really bad. I think of state parks and I think of PG&E. PG&E took over Diablo. I hated Diablo. I protested against Diablo. PG&E came out and supported practically every single thing around that community in Avila. They were always there. They were always giving money. They were always supporting the people. They were always supporting the projects and the festivals and everything else. State Parks has done absolutely zero for Oceano. Zero. they've done everything they possibly could to keep us out. It's night and day between what, I don't support Diablo. I don't think they were great, but man, did they support the community to make up with good PR. State parks, no, that wasn't happening and still isn't happening. And I don't know if you take that message back, but get the message, people. Get it. Otherwise, we're just going to keep protesting against it because, we want our community back and we want it to be nice, and we don't want it to look like Pier Avenue does right now because it sucks. I'm done. Thanks.
Aline? We're
Yeah,
gonna need to wrap this up, folks.
yes, I just have to echo Bonnie's comments. From the campground up to the highway, it looks good. From the campground towards all the way up to the ocean there, it looks terrible. My mom and I used to do daily walks there almost when it was closed to COVID, and my mom would make comments, look, the sidewalks here look worse than those in Mexico. This is California, this is Oceano, and look how the difference night and day between this and Shell Beach and other communities that, beach communities that care. So state parks can step up its game if it wants to. And hopefully it will. I'm confident, and we don't hate you.
Lucia?
One last thing. Larry Bros, rest in peace, had paid for a picnic table and a bench to be installed on the sand right there on Pier Avenue. That's gone. Only bench, the only picnic table put by a private citizen, and it's gone. Did State Park ever wonder what happened to it or thought about replacing it? And the Oceano Beach Community Association has been in contact with Kevin Pierce and with on wanting the bike racks for years. We applied for a grant, asked Pierce if we could pay the bike racks with money.
Yeah, I think we've lost.
Yeah, it's not working. That's
I heard
Guadalupe.
picnic table, bike racks, and
Rest in peace, Larry Bros.
The bench for Larry Brosser.
yeah.
I'm not sure about, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so I can certainly take that back to the bosses, and we can talk about that. I don't know. I don't know if it's a space thing. I don't know if it's. I don't know what's going on. So I don't have a good answer. But all I can say is that I will take that back to our team and see what we can do to if there's a desire to have those two amenities brought back. One brought in, one brought back.
Ronnie, a literal concrete thing that state parks could do was have a complete sidewalk from Oceano to Pier Avenue and from Pier Avenue and Highway 1 to the beach. There isn't. So there's no way for Oceanans to have a safe route to the beach by foot. The message to Oceanans is that
If the beach isn't for us.
if the beach isn't for us, the beach isn't for poor families
Unless you
or
make
for
money
kids
there.
to
Yeah.
ride their bikes to the beach.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of sidewalk that's needed to make those connections. It's basically all north of the overpass. And then along at least one side of Pier Avenue to have complete sidewalks out there. That's a real concrete, literal, not a real big ticket item in the overall budget of state parks. And I think that would carry a lot of symbolic weight, give a lot of good vibes from state parks to the community.
Now, if I'm not wrong, isn't there going to be a Highway 1 crossing at 21st or 22nd?
Yeah, but but you still can't get.
Could you be
so-
further from the beach?
So what?
Well,
I mean,
no, I'm, so again, we are limited in spending our money in state park units. And so this is obviously a much bigger conversation that needs to happen with Caltrans, needs to happen with the county, because they own Pier Avenue. And so these are much bigger conversations, and so I hear what you're saying. I think that's a laudable goal. I think it requires a much more coordinated and focused effort by a number of different agencies. So, I have no more influence over Caltrans than you do, Charles.
right. Well, when it comes down to it, and we're working on that, to have state parks weigh in on our side, as much as they can, would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely, and I think that's one place where we can be part of the broader effort. I don't know when those opportunities present themselves, and so if you let us know, I think that's a big part. So if there's for this crossing at 21st or 22nd Street, if there's a need for us to weigh in with Caltrans or SlowCog or whoever is trying to make that happen, let us know, and that's what.
Okay.
But it's hard to know when and where and how to be a part of that broader solution.
mhm. Well, Ronnie, thank you for coming tonight. It's as you heard, I mean, you're here, you represent, and you're the symbol for the state parks. And so there are a lot of issues that folks have, and some of the issues you heard about aren't necessarily about the specific project. Appreciate your grace, sometimes under a little fire. I know you're used to that,
Yeah.
but we appreciate you being here.
All right. Well, my pleasure. And again, let us know when and how we can be a better partner there. So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you, Ronnie.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Okay. So there is no public comment since we have no public here tonight. We is the idea to take a position on this tonight? I think that we're under a time constraint. We probably need to if we want to get on the public record. So
It's on our agenda. I think that we should.
I'd be looking for direction from the council members. How would you like to proceed?
I make a motion. I make a motion that we recommend denying this permit to state parks.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny the permit.
Yes,
And so do we have discussion?
I'd like some discussion real quick. Normally, we don't make a motion on denying or approving something. We make a motion on voting on something. And so that's what I'd like to do.
I motion to vote that we deny this. Well, we advise the county. So I motion that we vote to advise the county not to approve this permit.
I think we
Yeah.
should vote first, and then whatever the vote is, that's what we provide to the county.
Okay.
Mm,
I second the.
Okay, we have a motion. There's a second?
Of which part?
I'm sorry, is there a second?
What?
I thought Barney
Oh, are you
seconded.
seconding it? I can't hear you.
I'm seconding Lucia's revision.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So discussion.
Gave mine.
Not me.
Well, I'd like to know on what grounds this is to be at the advice to deny it.
I would say the grounds are that it is there's no, it's based on Friends of Oceana winning a lawsuit. Or two,
Yes.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
Mhm.
It's not based on what the Coastal Commission has recommended. So the basis, their needs assessment was based on a myth or hope or pie in the sky wish.
Mhm.
And if I might speak, my hand is up,
Yes.
and I'm always afraid that the connection will go. Thank you for being patient. The bases are that as far as things are right now, State Parks is supposed to stop operations of the SVRA on January 1st to 24. It's not very far. So we expect State Parks operation to downsize and to reduce some of the equipment that and the space it needs. So it's ludicrous that it wants to expand. And that's precious coastal land that should not be paved. And if there is any pavement, should be removed. I know it's non-native vegetation, it doesn't matter, it's green. And water goes through. So these are my reasons. Thank you.
April?
I just really like to express that I'm uncomfortable that we're going to vote yes or no as a group instead of it being individual votes. I just don't think that's how democracy works. It feels really weird to be doing it this way on this project when we've never done it that way before. So I request that we vote yay or nay like we always do on projects, and then whatever the consensus is, that's what goes, that's what we provide to the county, what our consensus is. So that's,
Oh,
do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I'm really being put in a spot. I know what I want to vote based on the discussion tonight with the people involved and ourselves and our questions and the answers, but I want my vote to be my vote within the OAC, not I'm voting as a collective of the OAC. That's not how I thought our membership was based. So I'm not comfortable with that voting method. That's all I'm saying.
I'm really not understanding because we are going to vote individually.
No, she just passed a motion that we're going to vote no.
excuse me, Chair. Isn't this what we usually do? Like at the airport, unanimously. I mean, I think it was a 3 out of 4. I wasn't there, but you voted to not go for the airport renovation. So I understand that what we are doing different now. I'm sorry, Council Member April, I truly do not understand your point. I think in the past we've always voted, as long as I've been in the council. Yes or no, we like it, we don't like it, and then we write our
Individually,
motions.
yes, on an individual basis, yes. I make a motion that we vote on this project. That's how we normally do it. Am I wrong, Charles? You're the chair. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't remember the sequencing, but we came up with when we voted on the airport to deny the project, we had a list of reasons that we were voting no on it.
But we've each voted no individually. We didn't vote no as one group.
We're going to vote individually.
Then why did Lucia pass a motion that we're voting no?
I understood Lucia's motion is to deny the project.
So that's a vote no.
The same way we had a motion to deny the airport project.
Okay, so if I'm completely mistaken that we've always done it this way, then I rescind. If I'm the crazy person here, just tell me. But apparently I am. So, okay. I didn't know we voted as one brain group collective. And that's how we make our, I didn't know that. I thought we voted individually, that April votes, Aline votes on the project, not we vote yes or no as a group. We vote individually, yes or no, and then that's the consensus.
When we take the vote, I will go around and get every person's vote individually.
But we're past, this vote is based on no. It's already determined what the vote will be.
You can vote yes to deny the project, or you can vote no
Okay,
on denying the project.
all right.
I mean, I don't know any other way to do it.
We just vote.
Vote on what?
We individually vote that we want it or we don't want it. How is that different than any other time we've ever done it?
How's that different from what I just said?
Because
gonna go around-
we're going out of the gate voting no. The vote for has already been determined what it's going to be. The vote, the motion is to vote no. I mean, it's not just
Vote is to deny the project. The
that's a
motion is
no.
to
Is that not
deny
a
the
no?
project.
That's semantics. Deny the project or no, it's the same
Okay.
concept. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Just say that.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
You're not wrong, April. Usually what we say, we're going to put this project to a vote to recommend it to, approval to the county. And we say, yes, yes. We could do the same thing here. Just Lucia just did it backwards. So we could say, let's all vote to approve, to send recommendation to approve this project. And then we're all going to vote. If we don't want the project, we'll say no. Lucia just did it backwards. She just said, I motion not to do it. And then those who are in agreement with her would say yes. So.
Well,
So it is different. So I'm not obviously crazy, but
So-
okay, we'll do it. Whatever you want to do. I'm done. I'm done.
so Aline, just to be clear, you're saying the difference is that the motion should be made in the affirmative rather than the negative?
That's usually the way we do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Does that make sense to you, April?
Yes, or just a simple, I make a motion to vote on this project.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's
Lucia,
all.
would you reword your motion to vote to approve
Or deny.
or deny
This
the
project.
what is it called? The
I closed
Corporation Yard Improvement Project?
Yes.
We
Well,
lost.
Lucia's not around. So does that make more sense to you?
It does, and only because that's how we've always done it. So if we're changing, I just wanted to know, that's all.
Bonnie, would that be acceptable to you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm new, sorry. So
Okay,
it
all
it
right.
makes sense. What April says makes sense to me, yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So we'll redo the motion that to approve the
We're denied.
Corporation Yard Improvement Project. And I guess I'll make that motion.
I second.
Okay. Okay, now,
We may need Lucia here to,
Well, she did tell us how she wants to vote.
Yeah.
right. So, okay, this is,
So then we just vote, yes
yeah,
or no.
okay, so any further discussion? Okay, do a roll call. Aline,
No,
Bonnie,
I vote to deny the project.
okay, April,
I vote to deny the project.
okay. Lucia votes to deny the project,
Correct.
and Charles votes to deny the project.
Nice.
So this is, I think we ought to read
It's for
through
you.
this process question. Just because it's kind of awkward at this point to go like, well, okay, now what do I write up and send to state parks on our behalf about why it was denied. Kind of after the fact. It seems like those things should be in public discussion then by our council after the motion's made. Then it would, it would be like, that would be your shot, April, to say, well, I'm not going to support this for that reason, Bonnie and around. So I think that's a lot cleaner. That's the way I think it should be done. So then it's upfront what your position is. That's kind of standard procedure.
I think Aline has her hand up.
I meant to lower it. Keep on forgetting.
Yeah.
I think we're denying it because it's based on, it's just too early to decide. Everything is.
Right, it's all based on
Everything
SBR.
is up in the air with lawsuits right now, and it's just too early to move ahead with any projects, any unnecessary projects.
And I would say for myself, I agreed with everyone's line of questioning. Had the same reactions and concerns that people expressed when the answers were provided. And then lastly, I would just say that I think, learning what we learned tonight, there's much more that should probably be looked at, like how do 4 people get to own buildings on state parks land? How does that happen?
Right, and if you move away, can you rent it out to
Right, is
somebody?
it now your Airbnb? What the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, that just blew me away. So no, I definitely vote against it, but I didn't want to go on the record just saying, no, I vote against it. I wanted us to say each person individually either approves or denies it, and then the consensus. So I think we are all on the same page. It was just that final process to get us there.
Well,
I have to say, being a newsy person, that's a news story.
Absolutely.
Being a newsy person, that's a news story.
Absolutely. Doing a public records request right now, Bonnie.
So we're at 8:16. We have, so the vacation rental ordinance, thank you so much, April, for putting together the flyer. We're starting to move forward on that. Is there anything anybody wants to say right now about that?
Real quick, I'm sending you the Word doc, Charles, right now.
Okay, thank you.
Was it
I
planned?
I got it figured out.
Okay, so
I
you
got
don't
it
need the
posted
Word
to
doc, or do you
Facebook
want
and
it?
I got it on Nextdoor.
Okay, so you don't need it?
Yes, I have something to add. I sent it to Bulbo at New Times. I haven't heard back from her, but I also sent it to John Lynch at the Tribune, who is the new, he just did the article on the Airbnbs, and he's interested in doing a story. So
Excellent.
I guess I put him in touch with you, Charles?
Yeah, I would be
He's
a
the
contact
chair.
for that.
He's interested, yeah.
And April too. I mean, April's
Right.
very
Okay,
involved with it.
okay.
Um,
I'm sure Bulbo will bite a lot also. I just haven't heard from her yet.
Right, yeah, they had their stories come out in the last 2 days.
well, I think he talked to April and he talked to me.
Bobo talked to me 2 days ago. That's a she, yes,
Okay,
but not about this.
The just a quick update on curb gutters and sidewalks. The Oceano PTA met last night, and they adopted they created a Safe Routes to School committee as part of the PTA, and that committee is going to meet. It will be adopting a Safe Routes to School plan. And they will be drafting a letter to the county for immediate action for maintenance on all of the crosswalks adjacent to Oceano Elementary School, for assessment of state mandated signage on streets as they approach Oceano Elementary School. And they will be Also developing a letter to Caltrans requesting a pedestrian controlled crosswalk on Highway 1 in the vicinity of the Oceano train depot. The meeting of that subcommittee, of that committee, will probably be August 11th, made up of faculty, students, parents, and interested community members who are members of the PTA. I believe that we'll also be soliciting to have a representative from the 2 advisory councils on the committee. We can address that at our first August meeting. April, do you want to say anything about the beautification award?
I did forward it to you guys when I mocked up. I didn't hear a word back from anybody. Did it sit in my draft folder?
Honestly, I haven't opened it up and looked at it.
It's okay. I just want to make sure you guys did get it. There's no time crunch on it. But I did make something up that's in PDF form that can, be altered every month or however often we want to do it. But I did make something up for you guys to look at, and we'll go from there. But I have not I've heard nothing back from anybody when I sent it.
So Holly has been making updates to the web page. If you have any specifics, please contact me on that. And I sent Holly the flyer and asked her to think about a way to get it up on the home page. And ask her to get back to me with it. I mean, it's a big, I'm not sure, to put that on the home page is going to take up the entire opening page. I don't know if we want to do that or turn it into a banner.
Yeah, I
or
think a
something,
banner.
with a hyperlink to
Yes.
the ordinance.
Mhm.
So I just asked her to put her mind to that and get back to me, and I'll share that with you all. And we'll get that up sooner than
I
later.
saw it on Facebook. Thank you, Aline. And I did I like reposted it to my Facebook to share it as well.
Lucia, we unanimously voted to deny the project. Okay, wanted you to know that. Do you have a treasurer's report, Lucia?
You're muted, Lucia. You're muted.
I'm sorry, I'll go
It's
in.
okay.
No, nothing has changed since the last
Okay.
week.
Since last week, okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
And OBCA, any report?
Yes, the 3 organizations that have motioned, that have appealed the denial of the motion to intervene have been granted also to expand the record. So now, right now, we have 2 victories. We will be heard expeditiously, and we have permission to add to the record. That means that information and stuff that has happened since the trial, since the lawsuit was filed, we can add it. So that's new. So it's going to be good. Still, we do not have the date of our hearing. I'll let you know. Thank you.
Any specific items for the next agenda? Any particular new ones?
We had talked in the past, we were going to put on the bylaws and you never did, but if we're fine with how we are, then that doesn't have to go on there.
Is there a specific item that you're thinking about?
We were talking about, we were concerned about the membership section at the time because we didn't know Bonnie was stepping up at the time, and
Oh,
this
right.
was pre-Bonnie. So now that Bonnie's here, we're great, we're 5, but that is something we might want to address in the future.
Okay.
And I just think of it as, apparently we've learned with the last creation of an advisory council that what is required by the county isn't necessarily required by the county in terms of rules and regulations. So that's why I'm willing to, or wanting to address this. If we find ourselves in a membership bind again, we can always pull, the VACO card and just let anybody be a member, so long as they have some peripheral attempt or association with Oceano. So to keep their membership numbers up.
Anything else? I'd like to express appreciation for how everybody was, civil and frank in the meeting tonight. I think it was maybe not I don't know if Ronnie, if it was really a pleasure for him to be here, but he was in the hot seat, but it was a good opportunity.
Mhm.
And and Ronnie's experienced in dealing with it, and I think he brings some information to the plate, and he got plenty of information from us. Bonnie, your presence was valuable in bringing up your perspective and your experience, as
Great questions.
all the rest of you.
Great questions, Bonnie.
So good meeting, and
Read the New Times article today.
oh yeah, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the New Times article today?
No. I'll have.
Guys, the airport's in there.
Oh yeah.
And a little bit of conversation about the OAC.
Oh.
So go us.
Is this a shredder or
No, it's not surprising. We're not in the
Okay,
shredder. I wasn't, you weren't, none of us were. It was
Okay.
shocking.
Okay. All right.
Next week. There's always next week.
Okay, well, call for adjournment. All in favor? Leave.
Aye.
Hi. Thank you
Okay.
for all your work.
Thanks, guys.
Adios, ladies.
Toodles.